Wait outside. 3 words that made everyone freeze and would destroy 3 careers in the next 15 minutes. Captain Danielle Brooks approaches Gate 14, her uniform impeccable, her stride confident. Every eye in the terminal follows her. This black woman radiates authority in a world that rarely expects it. Taylor steps forward, blocking the jetway. "Ma'am?" The word drips with condescension. "Crew members aren't boarding yet. Wait outside." Danielle points to her captain's wings. "I'm the captain of Flight 2187. "Sure you are." Taylor snickers, nodding to colleagues Brendan and Courtney who form a human wall. "Security can escort you if needed." Phones rise from the crowd, record buttons pressed. This moment won't disappear. Danielle's expression doesn't change. She simply steps back, pulls out her phone, and speaks 6 words. "Emergency replacement crew needed at Gate 14. Now." 15 minutes later, those same staff wouldn't just be unemployed, they'd be unemployable. The morning bustle of Atlanta International Airport hides darker currents beneath its surface. Passengers rush through terminals while staff perform their practiced routines. It's 5:30 a.m., and Captain Danielle Brooks arrives precisely on schedule. Her uniform is immaculate, every button polished, every crease sharp. She pulls her flight case with practiced ease, nodding to familiar faces as she passes. 15 years as a commercial airline captain have taught her the value of presence, of taking up space in rooms rarely designed for women who look like her. Behind the counter at Gate 14, Taylor Myers watches Danielle approach. Something in Taylor's expression shifts, a tightening around the eyes, a subtle downward pull at the corners of her mouth. "Since when does housekeeping wear pilot costumes?" Taylor whispers to her colleagues. Brendan chuckles while Courtney raises an eyebrow, both following Taylor's lead. The trio have worked this gate for years, a tight-knit unit with Taylor as their unofficial leader. Danielle catches the whisper, lets it slide off her like rain on waxed wings. She's heard worse. She approaches the counter, credentials ready. Taylor deliberately turns away, focusing instead on a white businessman in the line. "Good morning, sir. How can I help you today?" Danielle waits, patient but present. When the man moves on, she steps forward again. "Good morning. Captain Brooks for Flight 2187. Taylor scans her briefly, gaze lingering on Danielle's face rather than her credentials. "Flight attendants check in at the staff entrance downstairs." "I'm the captain," Danielle says, voice calm but firm. "Not a flight attendant." Taylor's expression shifts into something more calculated disbelief wrapped in procedure. The mask of customer service slips just enough to reveal the prejudice beneath. But Taylor had no idea that Captain Brooks's patience had been stress-tested in situations far more dangerous than this. Danielle places her credentials on the counter, sliding them toward Taylor with one smooth motion. "My ID and captain's authorization for today's flight." Taylor picks up the documents with reluctant fingers, examining them with exaggerated scrutiny. Her eyes narrow, scanning the photo, the name, the clearance levels. "These look unusual," Taylor says, tapping a fingernail against the plastic ID card. "We need to verify these." "I've flown from this terminal weekly for 3 years," Danielle replies, her tone even, professional. She stands straight, hands at her sides, not defensive, not aggressive, simply present. Taylor beckons to Brendan and Courtney. They move with practiced coordination, positioning themselves on either side of Taylor. The message is clear, a barrier formed, a line drawn. Movement catches Danielle's eye. First Officer James Wilson approaches, his uniform matching Danielle's, except for the 3 stripes instead of 4 on his sleeves. White, mid-30s, he nods to Danielle as he walks toward the gate. Taylor spots him and immediately waves him through. No ID check, no verification. "Morning, First Officer." "Morning," James replies automatically before registering the scene before him. He pauses, frowning. "Danielle?" "James, good morning," Danielle says. There seems to be confusion about my credentials. James looks between Danielle and Taylor, confusion evident. Taylor, this is Captain Brooks. We've flown together dozens of times. Taylor's cheeks flush, but she doesn't back down. Protocol says we need additional verification for unusual situations. What's unusual about the captain arriving for her flight? James asks, genuine confusion in his voice. Taylor ignores him, speaking into her radio instead. Security check requested at Gate 14. Whispers ripple through the waiting area. Passengers exchange glances. Some pull out phones, capturing what increasingly feels like a confrontation rather than a misunderstanding. What Taylor didn't realize, among those passengers was someone who could end careers with a single text message. The security officer arrives within minutes, a stocky man with a military haircut and an official vest. Taylor immediately steps toward him, speaking before he can assess the situation. We have an unauthorized person attempting to board, she says, voice pitched low but carrying just far enough for nearby passengers to hear. Danielle stands her ground, shoulders back, chin level, professional to her core. I am Captain Danielle Brooks, scheduled pilot for Flight 2187. The security officer looks between them, uncertainty flickering across his face. The tableau before him doesn't match the urgency in Taylor's voice. No raised voices, no aggressive postures, just a woman in a pilot's uniform standing calmly at a gate. She claims to be the captain, Taylor continues, emphasizing the word claims with subtle mockery. But we need to verify her documentation. Danielle presents her credentials again, holding them out to the security officer. He takes them, turning the ID card over in his hands, examining the security features. James steps closer, frustration evident in his stance. Officer, I can vouch for Captain Brooks. We've flown together for years. Perhaps she's a flight attendant who's confused about her role today, Taylor interrupts, speaking over James. It happens sometimes. The statement hangs in the air, its implication clear. Not just that Danielle is in the wrong place, but that she couldn't possibly be what she claims to be. A dozen phones now point in their direction, recording every word, every microaggression made manifest. The security officer shifts his weight, caught between procedure and common sense. Ma'am, please step aside while we verify your credentials. I'm the captain of this flight, Danielle says, her voice calm but carrying an edge now. Every minute of delay costs the airline thousands. Taylor's lips curl into something that might be a smile on a different face. If you're really the captain, why don't you just wait outside until we sort this out? The words land like a slap. Public, deliberate, humiliating. Passengers watch, some with discomfort, others with outrage beginning to build. A mother pulls her young daughter closer, whispering something in her ear as they both watch Danielle. Danielle takes a deep breath, a moment to center herself. Then, with the dignity of someone who has weathered storms far worse than this, she steps back from the counter. Not retreating, repositioning. They thought she was retreating in defeat, but Danielle was simply repositioning for an endgame they couldn't imagine. Danielle finds a quiet corner near the window, 20 feet from the gate. She sets down her flight case, straightens her jacket, and pulls out her phone. To the casual observer, she appears to be checking messages, perhaps arranging alternative transportation. Nothing about her demeanor suggests the machinery she's about to set in motion. Behind her composed exterior lies a history known to few in the terminal. Captain Danielle Brooks doesn't just fly planes. She sits on the airline's board of directors. She chairs the Operational Standards Committee. She drafted the company's anti-discrimination protocols herself. Years of similar moments flash through her mind, being mistaken for janitorial staff in pilot lounges, having passengers ask for the real pilot when boarding, watching less qualified white colleagues advance faster. Each incident built something in her, not bitterness, but resolve. Her mentor's words echo from years ago. Always have receipts, Danielle. Know which battles to fight publicly and which to win silently. Danielle unlocks her phone and makes her first call. Victoria, it's Danielle Brooks. Her voice is low, measured. I need emergency crew replacement at Gate 14. Yes, it's happening again. Victoria Chen, Operations Director, doesn't need elaboration. Documentation? In progress, Danielle responds. Need this handled quickly and quietly. She ends the call, immediately dials again. Stephen, Danielle Brooks. I need you to pull security footage from Gate 14 last 20 minutes. Save it before anyone can erase it. Stephen Rodriguez, Chief Compliance Officer, responds with immediate understanding. Consider it done. Do you need backup? Not yet. One more call first. The third number she dials connects her to the board chair directly. Bill, it's Danielle. I'm invoking my emergency authority under Section 7 of our anti-discrimination protocols. William Forrest's voice sharpens with concern. That's serious? Witnessed by a terminal full of passengers with phones. It's already on social media. Handle it however you need to. Full board support. Danielle ends the call, tucks her phone away. From her position, she can see Taylor and her team still blocking the jetway. They shift uncomfortably, glancing at their watches. Passengers wait in growing frustration, many still recording the scene on their phones. James makes another attempt to intervene, gesturing toward Danielle, but Taylor cuts him off with a sharp gesture. We're handling it according to protocol. Protocol. The word almost makes Danielle smile. They have no idea what protocols they've just triggered. While they thought they were controlling the gate, Danielle had just activated a corporate mechanism that hadn't been used in the airline's 20-year history. Danielle remains in her corner, a statue of composure amid the growing chaos at Gate 14. Passengers check watches, whisper concerns about connections, cast looks between the gate staff and the woman in the pilot's uniform standing apart. The elevator doors open at the far end of the terminal. A tall man in a tailored suit strides out. Benjamin Harris, airport manager for the airline's Atlanta hub. His typical morning inspection has been interrupted by an unusual alert. Flight 2187, delayed departure, possible discrimination incident. Benjamin approaches the gate with purpose. Taylor spots him first, straightening her posture, tugging at her uniform vest. Mr. Harris, Taylor says, voice pitched higher than normal. Good morning. Taylor, Benjamin nods, direct and professional. What's the delay situation here? Taylor shifts her weight, glancing at Brendan and Courtney for support. We have an identity verification issue. Someone claiming to be the captain presented unusual credentials. Benjamin scans the gate area, frowning. Where is this person now? Danielle chooses this moment to approach, her steps measured and confident. I'm Captain Brooks. Benjamin's expression transforms instantly from concern to recognition. Captain Brooks! I didn't know you were flying out today. The shift in his demeanor is unmistakable respect, perhaps even deference. Taylor's confidence wavers, a flicker of uncertainty crossing her features. Why haven't you boarded yet, Captain? Benjamin asks, genuine confusion in his voice. The gate staff felt my credentials required additional verification, Danielle explains, her tone neutral, factual. They suggested I wait outside while they sorted it out. Taylor cuts in, words tumbling out quickly. We were following security protocols for unverified personnel. It's standard procedure when... Taylor, Benjamin interrupts, his expression hardening. Captain Brooks is one of our most senior pilots. We were just being cautious, Taylor insists, voice rising slightly. With security concerns these days, Benjamin examines the credentials still in the security officer's hands. Her credentials are all in order. Let her board immediately. The security officer returns Danielle's ID and steps back, mumbling an apology. Taylor reluctantly moves aside, clearing the path to the jetway. As Danielle passes, Taylor leans toward Brendan, whispering just loud enough to be heard. Someone's getting written up for this. She has no idea how prophetic those words will prove to be. But the 3 staff members failed to notice the airline's chief of staff and 2 HR directors who had just arrived at the terminal. Danielle steps through the jetway, her flight case trailing behind her. The cool air of the plane's cabin greets her familiar territory after years in the sky. Flight attendants nod in recognition, their expressions a mix of respect and confusion at her delayed arrival. In the cockpit, Danielle stows her case and begins her pre-flight routine. Each switch, each gauge checked with practiced precision. The routine grounds her, pushing the morning's confrontation to a compartment she'll address later. James enters, closing the door behind him. 15-minute delay logged, he says, settling into the co-pilot's seat. What the hell was that about? That, Danielle says, continuing her checks without breaking rhythm, was about more than just me. Passengers file in, many glancing curiously at the cockpit door. Some point, whisper. The incident at the gate has become the morning's entertainment. I've never seen anything like that. James shakes his head. Not here. Not with someone of your experience. Danielle finally pauses, turns to face him. This isn't about us now. It's about making sure it never happens to anyone else. Meanwhile, in the terminal, a new scene unfolds. 3 figures emerge from the administrative offices. Michael Reynolds, the airline's chief of staff, leads the trio, flanked by Amara Johnson and David Park from Human Resources. They move with purpose, their expressions grave. Taylor notices them first, her hands freezing mid-gesture as she directs another flight's boarding. Something about their trajectory straight toward Gate 14 triggers a flutter of anxiety in her chest. Taylor resumes her duties, voice slightly louder than necessary. Performance now. Welcome aboard Flight 433. Please have your boarding passes ready. Michael positions himself at the periphery, observing. The HR directors take notes on tablets, occasionally exchanging glances. 5 minutes pass before Michael approaches. Taylor, he says, his tone neutral but carrying authority. We need to discuss the incident with Captain Brooks. Taylor's smile is professional but strained. We were following protocol for unverified personnel. It was a simple misunderstanding. I see. Michael's expression reveals nothing. Please provide your employee IDs. We'll need statements from all 3 of you. Brendan and Courtney exchange worried glances. Taylor's smile falters, reality dawning. It was just a misunderstanding, she repeats, less certain now. That will be determined in the official review, Michael replies. While Taylor began crafting explanations, the airline's executive team was already reviewing the security footage in the airport's administration office. Flight 2187 taxis toward the runway, engines humming with contained power. In the cockpit, Danielle communicates with the tower with crisp professionalism, each exchange precise and practiced. Nothing in her voice betrays the morning's confrontation. Atlanta Tower, Flight 2187 ready for takeoff, runway 27R. Flight 2187 cleared for takeoff, runway 27R. Danielle advances the throttle, feeling the familiar push as the aircraft accelerates. This moment when gravity surrenders to engineering, when Earth gives way to sky, this moment is hers. No one can take it from her. In the cabin behind her, the passengers settle in for the 2-hour flight to Chicago. A young woman in 4C leans across the aisle to her companion. That was the captain they were hassling at the gate, she whispers, showing her phone screen. The video's already got 3,000 views. The flight attendant pauses her safety demonstration, overhearing. Excuse me? The passenger looks up, suddenly self-conscious. Sorry, I recorded what happened at the gate. That was your captain they were harassing, right? The flight attendant's expression tightens. Captain Brooks is one of our most experienced pilots. Word ripples through the cabin. Passengers exchange glances, share videos, discuss what they witnessed. A microcosm of public opinion forms at 30,000 feet. Meanwhile, in a sterile conference room at Atlanta International, 6 executives stare at a large screen. The security footage plays silently, Danielle approaching the counter, Taylor's dismissal, The credential check, James being waved through without verification, the security call. Victoria Chen, operations director, pauses the footage. This is textbook discrimination, with multiple witnesses and recordings. Stephen Rodriguez nods grimly. Social media already has videos with thousands of shares. #wait outside is trending in 3 cities. Public perception? William Forrest, board chair, asks. Overwhelmingly negative toward our staff, supportive of Captain Brooks, the PR director responds. Comments mention boycotts, lawsuits. William's phone buzzes. He glances down, then looks up at the room. Emergency board meeting scheduled for Captain Brooks's return. She's requested full implementation of the contingency protocol. Back in the cockpit, Danielle receives a message on the secure channel. Her expression doesn't change as she reads it, but something settles in her posture, a quiet certainty. James notices. They're taking this seriously. Finally. Danielle adjusts their course heading by 2 degrees. This isn't about me. It's about changing the system. The staff who blocked her had no idea that by the time Flight 2187 landed in Chicago, their actions would trigger an airline-wide emergency protocol. The wheels of Flight 2187 touched down on Chicago O'Hare's runway at 9:47 a.m., only 12 minutes behind schedule. Danielle brings the aircraft to a perfect stop at gate C-22, completes the shutdown procedure with the same meticulous attention she's applied for 15 years. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Chicago O'Hare International Airport, she announces over the intercom. Local time is 9:52 a.m. Thank you for flying with us today. As passengers gather their belongings and file toward the exits, several pause at the cockpit door, now open as Danielle completes her post-flight checks. We saw what happened, Captain, a middle-aged woman says, her expression earnest. It wasn't right. Thank you for getting us here safely, adds a businessman behind her. Some people just can't see past their own bias. Danielle acknowledges them with a nod and a small smile. Professional to the end, even as her phone vibrates repeatedly in her pocket. 47 missed calls, emergency video conference in 30 minutes. In Atlanta, the airline's corporate headquarters buzzes with unusual energy. The main conference room has been transformed into a crisis center. Executives speak in hushed tones while legal counsel reviews documents. A large screen dominates one wall, awaiting connections from board members across the country. William Forrest stands at the head of the table, reviewing notes with the airline's CEO, Margaret Simmons. The optics couldn't be worse, Margaret says, shaking her head. 3 white gate agents blocking a black female captain from her own plane? The videos have gone viral. It's not just optics, William responds. It's a fundamental failure of our systems. We've been warned this was happening. The screen flickers to life as board members join the video conference. Names appear across the bottom: financial executives, operations chiefs, legal advisors. A notification appears. Director Brooks joining shortly. In the terminal break room, Taylor and her colleagues watch the news in stunned silence. A local Atlanta station plays footage from the gate footage taken by passengers, showing Taylor's dismissive expression, Danielle's calm responses, the human barrier formed to prevent her boarding. They're making it look worse than it was, Taylor insists, arms crossed defensively. We were just following procedure. Brendan stares at his phone, scrolling through social media. It's everywhere. People are calling for us to be fired. That's ridiculous, Taylor snaps. We can't lose our jobs over a misunderstanding. The conference room door opens. All heads turn as Danielle enters, still in her captain's uniform, composure intact despite the morning's events and a 2-hour flight. I apologize for the delay, she says, taking a seat at the table. William nods in acknowledgement. No apologies needed, Director Brooks. We've reviewed the footage. Director Brooks. The title hangs in the air, its significance apparent to everyone in the room. This is not just a captain reporting an incident. This is a board member addressing her peers. 2 years earlier, Danielle had been appointed to the airline's board of directors. Her appointment wasn't tokenism, it was recognition of her expertise, her insights into operational standards, her first-hand knowledge of the company's culture. She had been specifically tasked with addressing the anti-discrimination policies that had failed so many employees before her. Director Brooks, the CEO begins, as chair of our Operational Standards Committee, what actions do you recommend? Danielle opens her tablet, pulling up documents she's had prepared for months, waiting for the right catalyst, the right moment. This isn't an isolated incident. It represents a systemic failure in our training and accountability systems. She shares her screen, displaying a carefully documented pattern of similar incidents across the airline's network. Reports filed and ignored. Complaints dismissed as misunderstandings. Patterns of behavior excused as procedural necessity. I recommend immediate termination of the involved staff, mandatory company-wide retraining, and implementation of the Brooks Protocol we developed last year. The vote is quick, unanimous. No debate needed when the evidence is so clear, the failure so public. Effective immediately, the CEO announces, the Brooks Protocol is activated. Director Brooks has full authority to implement necessary changes. The power that has always been Danielle's earned through experience, secured through preparation, now becomes visible to all. While the board empowered Danielle to transform the airline, Taylor was still unaware that her career had effectively ended 15 minutes after she uttered the words, "Wait outside." The afternoon sun casts long shadows across Atlanta International's Terminal B. Passengers stream past Gate 14, where business continues, flights boarding, announcements chiming, the machinery of air travel grinding forward. Taylor checks her watch between boarding passes, anxious energy evident in her quick movements. "Something's off," she mutters to Brendan. "No supervisor all afternoon, no follow-up about the incident." Brendan shrugs, but his eyes betray similar concern. Maybe they're just reviewing the footage. "What footage?" Courtney asks, genuinely confused. "The security cameras?" Taylor's response dies in her throat as she spots them. 4 figures moving with purpose through the terminal. Michael Reynolds leads, accompanied by 2 security officers and a woman Taylor recognizes from HR orientation. Their trajectory is unmistakable, straight toward Gate 14. "Finish this boarding," Taylor tells Brendan, straightening her uniform. "I'll handle whatever this is." Michael reaches the counter first, his expression professionally neutral. "Taylor, Brendan, Courtney, we need you to step away from the gate." Taylor's customer service smile appears automatically. "We're in the middle of boarding Flight 622, perhaps after—" "Now." The HR director's voice leaves no room for negotiation. Another team is already en route to take over. The security officers position themselves on either side, not touching but present, expectant. Taylor's smile falters as she realizes passengers are watching, phones rising again to capture whatever comes next. In a quiet corner away from the gate, Michael delivers the news with clinical precision. "Your employment is terminated, effective immediately." The words land like physical blows. Taylor staggers slightly. "For what? Following security protocols?" The HR director turns her tablet toward them. On screen, social media explodes with the morning's incident. Hashtag wait outside trends nationwide. Videos have millions of views. Comment sections overflow with outrage. "This incident has caused significant damage to our brand and violated multiple company policies," Michael continues. "It was just a misunderstanding." Taylor's voice rises, drawing glances from passing travelers. "She didn't look like a captain." The HR director makes a note on her tablet. "That statement alone confirms the discriminatory nature of your actions." Security steps forward. "We'll need your badges and access cards." In Chicago, Danielle stands before a hastily assembled group of gate staff and flight crews. A video conference screen connects her to similar groups at 27 airports across the country. "Today we are implementing the Brooks Protocol," she explains, her voice carrying the authority of both experience and position. Three-step credential verification that eliminates subjective judgment. She demonstrates the new procedure, simple, efficient, respectful. No room for bias, no opportunity for discrimination masquerading as security. This isn't about punishment, Danielle emphasizes. It's about progress. It's about ensuring every crew member can do their job without facing barriers their colleagues don't. In the Atlanta headquarters, the legal team works through potential ramifications. The PR department crafts statements acknowledging the failure while highlighting the response. "We need to get ahead of this," the chief legal officer advises. "Public apology, clear consequences, tangible changes." The CEO nods, reviewing the draft statement on her screen. "What happened to Captain Brooks represents a failure of our values. We take full responsibility and are implementing immediate changes to ensure it never happens again." While public statements flow through official channels, Danielle conducts interviews with internal staff, flight attendants, pilots, ground crews, particularly those from underrepresented groups. Each conversation reveals similar experiences, different only in degree rather than kind. A black flight attendant describes being repeatedly mistaken for janitorial staff. A Hispanic pilot recalls passengers requesting an American pilot when they heard his accent. A Muslim ground crew member shares stories of random security checks that somehow always selected him. The pattern emerges, undeniable and damning. Not isolated incidents, but symptoms of a systemic disease. Taylor clears her desk under security's watchful eye. Photos, trinkets, 7 years of employment reduced to a small cardboard box. Her phone buzzes constantly. Messages from colleagues, news alerts about the incident, social media notifications. "This is career suicide," she mutters, shoving a coffee mug into the box. "They're throwing us under the bus for one misunderstanding." The HR director closes the personnel file on her tablet. "Ms. Myers, I should inform you that under the terms of your termination, a note regarding discriminatory behavior will be included in your employment record." "You can't do that!" Taylor's composure finally breaks. "That will follow me everywhere." "Yes," the HR director confirms. "That's precisely the point." Security escorts them through employee exits, badges confiscated, access revoked. In less than an hour, Taylor goes from airline employee to aviation pariah. The industry blacklist activates silently, invisible but impenetrable. Meanwhile, Danielle's documented cases grow into a comprehensive report. Hundreds of incidents, large and small, forming an irrefutable argument for structural change. The patterns reveal not just individual bias, but institutional blindness problems ignored until they could no longer be denied. The airline's training division works overnight to implement new modules. Legal reviews employment contracts to add specific anti-discrimination clauses. HR develops reporting systems that can't be ignored or bypassed. Systems change because they must. Because the alternative continued failure, continued harm, has become too costly to sustain. As Danielle built her case file, Taylor was about to discover that in the airline industry, being fired for discrimination made her completely unemployable. 3 weeks after the incident, Taylor sits in her apartment surrounded by rejection emails. Her resume, impressive just a month ago with 7 years at a major airline, now generates automatic rejections. No interviews, no callbacks, just variations on the same polite dismissal. "Thank you for your interest, unfortunately." She scrolls through her inbox, each message another door closed. "This is insane," she mutters, typing another application. One misunderstanding and suddenly I'm radioactive. Her phone rings unknown number with an Atlanta area code. Taylor lunges for it, hope flaring. "Hello? Ms. Myers? This is Gregory Winters from the Aviation Ethics Committee. We're contacting you regarding a mandatory hearing scheduled for next Monday at 10 a.m. The committee name triggers instant anxiety. The Aviation Ethics Committee, an industry oversight group with the power to recommend permanent restrictions on employment across airlines. Mandatory? Taylor's voice rises. I don't understand. I'm not even employed anymore. The hearing concerns an incident at Atlanta International on July 12th involving Captain Danielle Brooks. Your presence is required by industry covenant. Failure to appear may result in additional sanctions. Additional sanctions, as if being unemployable weren't enough. The hearing room feels designed to intimidate high ceilings, wood paneling, a raised platform where 7 committee members sit in judgment. Taylor enters alone, no lawyer, no support. Her former colleagues, Brendan and Courtney, sit separately near the back, equally isolated. Industry leaders fill the observer seats, representatives from major airlines, aviation authorities, pilot unions. Taylor recognizes faces from trade publications and corporate websites. And there, at the end of the committee table, sits Danielle Brooks, composed and professional in her uniform. The committee chair, a silver-haired former pilot, calls the room to order. This hearing will address the discriminatory incident at Atlanta International Airport on July 12, 2025, involving Captain Danielle Brooks and former gate agents Taylor Myers, Brendan Collins, and Courtney Zhao. Evidence unfolds methodically: security footage, passenger videos, witness statements. The story told from multiple angles, each version more damning than the last. Ms. Myers, the chair finally addresses her directly. Please explain your actions on the morning in question. Taylor stands, hands shaking slightly. I was just being cautious about security. With all the threats airlines face. Yet you allowed First Officer Wilson to pass without credential verification, a committee member interrupts, referencing time-stamped footage. Why the different standard? I knew him. He flies that route regularly. As does Captain Brooks, another committee member notes. According to records, she's flown from that terminal weekly for 3 years. The questions continue, relentless and precise. Taylor's explanations grow increasingly desperate. Former colleagues testify about previous incidents, comments made about diversity hires, jokes at the expense of minority staff, patterns of behavior previously unreported, but now exposed. I didn't mean to discriminate, Taylor finally breaks down. I just didn't think she looked like a pilot. The words hang in the air, their implication impossible to ignore. What does a pilot look like? The unspoken answer, the assumption at the heart of the incident, reveals itself in Taylor's own defense. The committee deliberates briefly, their decision seemingly predetermined by the weight of evidence. The chair reads the ruling with grave formality. Based on documented evidence of discriminatory behavior resulting in operational disruption, this committee recommends that Taylor Myers' certification for airline operations be permanently revoked. Similar judgments follow for Brendan and Courtney, though with provisions for potential reinstatement after extensive training and probationary periods. Their roles as followers, rather than instigators, earn them marginal leniency. Throughout the proceedings, Danielle remains silent, her expression revealing nothing. Only when the ruling is complete does Taylor approach her, anger and desperation breaking through. You've ruined my career over nothing, Taylor hisses, quiet enough for only Danielle to hear. Danielle meets her gaze directly. No, you ruined your career when you decided your biases were more important than your professionalism. It's the only time Danielle speaks during the entire hearing, one sentence that cuts through excuses and lays bare the simple truth at the heart of the case. Taylor's downfall was just the beginning of an industry-wide reckoning that would change airline operations forever. 6 weeks after the incident, 23 major airlines implement versions of the Brooks Protocol. What began as one company's crisis response transforms into industry standard with remarkable speed. In training centers across the country, new videos play on screens. Danielle's experience, recreated with actors but painfully authentic, serves as the central case study in anti-discrimination education. Gate agents, flight crews, and administrators watch with somber attention as the scenario unfolds. This incident cost millions in brand damage, legal exposure, and operational disruption, trainers explain. But the human cost was incalculable. The standardized credential verification system eliminates subjective judgment from security procedures. 3 simple steps, applied equally to every crew member regardless of appearance, race, gender, or familiarity. Digital kiosks appear at employee entrances, scan credentials, verify biometrics, confirm scheduling. Technology removes the human filter that too often distorted perception. An anonymous reporting system launches across carriers, allowing crew members to document incidents without fear of retaliation. Reports flow directly to compliance officers, bypassing the chain of command that previously buried complaints. In the first month, we received 347 incident reports, Stephen Rodriguez tells the Operational Standards Committee. Patterns emerged immediately. The data tells its own story. Minority crew members experiencing random security checks at triple the rate of their white colleagues. Female pilots questioned about their qualifications, while male counterparts board unchallenged. Muslim employees subjected to additional screening based on nothing but religious markers. Numbers don't lie, and airlines can no longer ignore what the data reveals. Industry statistics shift gradually, then dramatically. Reported bias incidents dropped 64% in the first quarter after implementation. Employee satisfaction scores among minority staff rise for the first time in 8 years. Regional Aviation Authority representatives observe the transformation with interest. Elements of the Brooks Protocol appear in draft regulations for industry-wide adoption. What began as corporate crisis management evolves into governance framework. The Brooks Protocol represents a shift from reactionary damage control to proactive systems design, notes the Aviation Standards Quarterly in its feature article. By removing opportunities for unconscious bias to affect operational decisions, airlines create safer, more efficient environments for all employees. At O'Hare International, a young black woman in pilot training uniform approaches a gate. The agent scans her credentials, verifies her schedule, and waves her through with professional courtesy. No questions, no doubts, no barriers. Down the terminal, a Hispanic flight attendant presents his ID without anxiety, without bracing for the additional verification that used to follow him from airport to airport. The system treats him exactly like every other crew member, the simple dignity of equal treatment. In Atlanta headquarters, Danielle reviews implementation metrics with the executive team. Graphs trend in the right direction. Numbers tell a story of progress, incremental but undeniable. We're not solving prejudice, Danielle reminds them. We're removing its power to disrupt our operations and harm our people. Aviation media covers the transformation as a case study in crisis response and organizational change. Industry leaders who initially resisted the protocol now claim credit for supporting it. The tide turns, carrying even reluctant participants toward a new standard. The industry had changed, but Danielle still had one more flight to Captain One that would bring her face to face with the consequences of her actions. 6 months after the incident, Danielle prepares for her regular Chicago route. Morning sunlight streams through terminal windows as she approaches Gate 14, the same gate, now transformed by new procedures and attitudes. The gate agent scans Danielle's credentials with professional efficiency. Good morning, Captain Brooks. Boarding will begin in 20 minutes. No hesitation, no doubt, no barrier. Danielle nods her thanks, proceeding to the aircraft for pre-flight checks. The routine comforts her, the clipboard weight in her hands, the systematic verification of every component, the quiet hum of systems coming online. When boarding begins, Danielle stands at the cockpit door, greeting passengers as they file past. It's a practice she's maintained throughout her career, a moment of human connection before the technical demands of flight. "Welcome aboard," she says, meeting each passenger's eyes briefly. A young woman smiles. "I watched your story online. You changed things." An elderly gentleman nods respectfully. "Thank you for your service, Captain." Then a familiar face appears in the boarding line. Brendan, former gate agent, now dressed in the uniform of a customer service representative for a ground transportation company. His step falters when he recognizes Danielle, eyes widening in surprise. Their gazes lock for a moment. Brendan's expression cycles through emotions: embarrassment, anxiety, resignation. He takes his assigned seat without comment, staring straight ahead. After final boarding, as flight attendants prepare the cabin, Danielle completes her cockpit preparation. A soft knock at the door interrupts her flow. Brendan stands in the doorway, tension evident in his posture. "Captain Brooks, I didn't know you'd be flying today." Danielle turns, face neutral. "Mr. Collins, welcome aboard." "Welcome." "I want to apologize," he says, words rushing out. "I followed Taylor's lead without thinking. It was wrong, and I'm sorry." Danielle studies him, noting the new company logo on his shirt. "You found other employment." "Entry level," Brendan admits. "I completed the sensitivity training program. It was eye-opening. I've learned a lot since then." "That was the goal," Danielle says, her tone softening slightly. "The goal was never punishment. It was change." Relief crosses Brendan's features. "Thank you for that. For what it's worth, the new systems make more sense. They're clearer, fairer. That's what systems should be." Brendan nods, then returns to his seat. The brief exchange lacks drama, lacks the emotional catharsis of movie confrontations. Real change happens quietly, in small acknowledgments and shifted perspectives. As passengers settle in, Danielle's new first officer enters the cockpit. Zara Patel, 32, one of the airline's rising talents. She catches the tail end of the interaction. "Was that one of them? From that day?" Zara asks, settling into the co-pilot's seat. Danielle nods, turning her attention to the pre-flight checklist. Systems change one person at a time. Together, they complete the preparations, each step verified, each system confirmed operational. The engines hum to life, responding to their commands with mechanical precision. As the aircraft taxis toward the runway, Danielle feels the familiar anticipation of flight, the moment when human ingenuity defies gravity, when boundaries fall away beneath outstretched wings. "Atlanta Tower, Flight 2187 ready for takeoff." "Flight 2187 cleared for takeoff." The aircraft accelerates, pressing them back against their seats. The ground falls away, perspective shifts, horizons expand. Below them, the airport becomes a pattern of lights and lines, its human dramas reduced to distant geometry. Respect isn't about waiting to be recognized, Danielle thinks as the aircraft climbs through clouds into clear blue above. Sometimes it's about making sure no one else has to wait outside again. 3 months later, Danielle stands before the airline's board of directors in the sleek corporate headquarters. Charts and graphs fill the screen behind her. Metrics of improvement, evidence of transformation. The Brooks Protocol has resulted in a 78% reduction in discrimination incidents since full implementation, she reports. Operational efficiency has improved by 12% due to standardized procedures. Employee retention among minority staff has increased by 23%. Numbers tell the story of systemic change, objective, measurable, undeniable. William Forrest, board chair, reviews the quarterly results with evident satisfaction. The financial benefits alone have justified the implementation costs many times over, but the reputational recovery has been even more valuable. The CEO nods in agreement. What began as crisis management has become a competitive advantage. 3 major clients have cited our diversity initiatives in renewing their corporate contracts. Business follows ethics when ethics affect the bottom line. Director Brooks, William continues, your next assignment is implementing this across our international operations. Some foreign stations have expressed concerns about cultural differences. Danielle accepts the challenge with a single nod. Change happens one decision at a time. We've proven the model works. After the meeting, Danielle pauses at the window overlooking the airport runways. Aircraft take off and land in carefully orchestrated patterns, each following protocols designed to ensure safety, efficiency, respect. Systems matter. They shape individual actions, constrain harmful impulses, create space for human dignity. A good system doesn't eliminate prejudice, but it can limit its power to harm. The world doesn't transform overnight. Justice doesn't arrive in a single dramatic moment. Real change builds slowly, one procedure, one policy, one person at a time. Progress measured in fewer barriers, in opportunities now open, in talents now recognized. For every Danielle Brooks who fought her way through, how many others were turned away? How many stepped back rather than forward when told to wait outside? How many voices, insights, and talents lost because systems protected bias rather than potential? When we recognize the true cost of discrimination, not just legal liability, but lost human contribution, we understand why systems must change. What began with 3 words, "wait outside," led to a transformation affecting thousands. Not because one person was powerful, but because she understood that power lies in the systems we build or dismantle together. Did Danielle's journey of courage and systemic change move you? This is just one of the powerful true stories we bring to life each week on Beat Stories. Hit that subscribe button right now to never miss our weekly dose of justice, transformation, and the moments that change everything. Our community is growing people who believe in accountability and the power of standing your ground. Like this video to help more people discover Danielle's story. When you like and share, you're not just supporting our channel, you're helping spread these crucial lessons about dignity and systemic change. Drop a comment below with your own wait outside moment. How did you respond? What would you have done in Danielle's position? Remember, every Beat story reminds us that real change happens when brave individuals refuse to accept the status quo.
They say it's just how the world works. We say, change it. At Beat Stories, we capture the exact moment when justice meets its match. Subscribe if you're tired of the same excuses wrapped in different uniforms.